Morning, my name is Lori. Welcome to part 3 of these lovely log cabin blocks. Let's get this finished. We open my book. When we stopped last week, we finished up with this 6.5 by 8.5 inch section of blocks, and we have 2 more rounds to add to it. So we have 8 pieces to add here, and we have 8 pieces to add here, and then 8 pieces to add here, and 8 more to add here. And then we switch to the longer pieces all around. So let's get to it and add some pieces and get it done. In previous rounds, when I got to a square shape, I trimmed and straightened. Well, I don't have an 8.5 inch ruler, so I am not going to straighten. The closest thing I have is a 12.5 inch ruler. So I'm going to wait till the very end to make sure my blocks are squared at 10.5. And so a little tip before I add the next round, I don't want to put this in the wrong spot to make it the 8.5 by 10.5. I want to make sure I'm adding to the right side. So this has the shorter blue, and I know the long blue needs to go onto it. This has the shorter white, and I know the longer background needs to go onto that background. So I need to just make sure I'm carefully laying things out and keep on going. So here we have the last 2 pieces to put on each of those 8 blocks. It's the 10.5 by 1.5 inch piece. When we are all done, we are going to talk about how to trim this up. Let me get to the sewing machine and add these pieces on. Okay, I have a 10.5 inch block lying in front of me, and I need to square it up. Now, I told you earlier, the only ruler I have is a 12.5. So I'm going to use some of the marks to help me out. I'm going to use the 45-degree angle across the middle, and I'm going to make sure that I am lined up, and that I have, that if I have extra here, maybe a hair extra here, that I'm not shy on any of the parts. That 45-degree line will be really helpful. And I see there's a little, see, I bumped that. Oh my goodness. Because it's just such a little hair of pieces around. So I'm going to trim 2 sides at a time, just like I was doing with the other blocks. And the exact size rulers. And I know that, see how thin and little those pieces are? Not very big at all, and I need to turn it around. Now it should be exact in this corner and on this side. Well, you know what, it helps if you're using the right registration marks now, doesn't it? So it's 10, and then there's a half that is orange on this ruler. And my 45-degree, and I see there's just a little tiny sliver that needs trimmed off. So now I have a perfect 10.5 inch square. Let me get the other ones trimmed up and we will come back and talk about putting this together a little bit, kind of. Now I have my blocks all squared, and I can put them, because in the pattern, if you look closely, they're in pairs to make the star points. So I don't have all of these done yet, all these corners done yet, but I can put these pairs together so that they are ready to go. Now, as you look at these pairs, one white comes the whole way down, and the reds slant inward. I know that it makes them a little asymmetrical, but when the whole center is together, it will look fabulous, even though it's a little bit asymmetrical. So put all those pairs together and you will be ready for next time. We have the coloring sheet to update, so give me a few minutes to get all these pairs together, and then we will update that color sheet. Here are the big blocks up on the wall. Now the center is not there, but you can see where it's going to be the star points. And you'll have to use your imagination. This one could actually be joined to, well, either the top or the side, depending on how you plan on putting those together. But we have one of those done and ready to go. Next week, we will be making, I believe, the farmer's daughter block, which is this one right here. So you will have that. It would be best to join it right there. Let's color in those points. If you are all caught up and have your star points ready, good for you. You are doing a wonderful job. Let me throw some pencils out here so I can find the colors I need. I need red for the centers, and they slant in. We'll see if our color sheet is accurate. I know at one point I had to fix it, and I hope that I did a good job. So I'm going to color my little, it seems that so far they're slanted inward to make that V. Good. Oh, and I colored that one the wrong color. Let me get out my, I erase a little bit, not very well, but I'll color that one really dark. So there we have the center of the log cabins. Now, I'm not going to call it sheeting, but it sort of is. I'm going to just follow along and do the, oh, there, I colored that one the wrong way too. Did I do that everywhere? I don't know. I don't know. I did color those the wrong way. Oh my goodness. I hope that you're paying attention so you don't make the same mistakes. I'm just outlining the whole half a block and coloring it in. I know that there's some blues and some other colors in there, but this is to give you the general idea of what it would look like. And I know that this one is a white one, so I know that I am going to let it be a white one. Makes kind of a gap. And there is one set of the 4 star points colored in. Let me put this on speed color and finish coloring it in for us. I hope you have enjoyed this little coloring tutorial. Next week we will be working on Farmer's Daughter. Now, I will tell you, if you would like to, my background is sort of an off-white. So I think I will go back and I will add just a touch of, I know it's brown, but that's the closest to tan that I can get. I think I will go back and just add a little touch of tan in all that space where it is background. I hope that you have enjoyed making these blocks. I think this was probably the hardest set of blocks that we will make because there were so many of them. I will say that in the past I hate to admit this, I have not always been diligent about trimming as I was making log cabin blocks, but that certainly did help in the very end to make my blocks accurate. And I will, from here on in, I'm reformed, and I will make sure that I do that. I always figured that if I had an accurate seam allowance, it wouldn't matter and it would be perfect. But I think as I pressed things out, sometimes the seam being there would distort the fabric as it got pressed outward, and that would be why it needed to be trimmed, because the seam itself added bulk. But anyway, next week, Farmer's Daughter, and I have enjoyed doing this series with you. See you next week so we can add some more blocks. We're getting further and further along. Have a good week. Thanks for watching.